वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की जय।
जय
श्रीमद सदगुरु सरकार की
जय।
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Now let's do Roop Dhyan of our beloved Gurudev, Jagat Guru Uttam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj and Bhagwan Shri Krishna. मेरे गुरुवर मेरे गिरिधर 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 मेरे गुरुधर मेरे गुरुवर मेरे गिरिधर 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 मेरे गुरुवर मेरे गिरिधर। बोलिए गुरुवर गिरिधर की जय। I had spoken to you last time about the first path that the Vedas talk about, the path of karma and dharma. 3 paths have been identified as the paths that can lead one to God. We are spiritual beings. We are the souls. We are a soul that has a body. And our ultimate aim in life is to know God and to love God and ultimately to be with God. To be with God, to get to God, we need a guru. We need a divine teacher. Gum Rauti iti guru. The one who destroys the darkness of ignorance is the guru. Grinati Jnanam iti guru, say the Vedas. The one who gives knowledge of God is the guru. So the guru teaches us about 3 paths that lead us to God, and he explains them one by one. Last time we understood everything to know that Sri Maharaji has told us about the path of karma and dharma. And we came to know that this path of Vedic duties can only lead us as far as celestial abode, Swargalok. It cannot take us any further. To attain God, we would have to add devotion, bhakti, to this path. So the path of karma and dharma cannot lead us to God, but karma yoga, karma plus devotion, can take us to God. Now let's talk about the second path, the path of gyan. In other words, the path of knowledge. This path of knowledge, is misunderstood. Many people say, would like to be on the path of knowledge. And the path of devotion, in their eyes, they erroneously believe that the path of devotion, which is the third path, it does not have knowledge in it. So they would rather be on the path of gyan, or knowledge. Let's understand what this path is all about, because this knowledge, path of knowledge, that's a misnomer. This is a path of attaining oneness with the formless and nameless aspect of God known as Brahman. As you know, God is both with form as well as without form. So the Jnani, the one who is following the path of Gyan, he wishes to meditate on Brahman. This is a very difficult path, and I sincerely doubt that there is even one person in Kali Yuga who is eligible to follow this path. Because to follow this path, you must be eligible, and the eligibility is this, that you should be completely detached from the world. If your entire family perishes at one time, all of them simultaneously, and your entire property, worldly property, is destroyed, you should not feel the least bit of pain. You are completely detached from the world. And you have no body consciousness. If your hand is put in fire, you should not feel the pain. If you are asked to submerge your entire body in freezing waters in wintertime, you should do it with a smile on your face, because you don't feel the cold. You're so advanced that you don't feel cold or the heat. It's very hot outside, and you are asked to build a fire and sit near it, and you would say, no problem, it doesn't bother me. So how many people do you think are in the world, living in the world, who can qualify for this path? It's extremely difficult, especially in this age of Kali, in Kali Yuga. And let's say that someone has become eligible to follow it. Then what follows? The Ramayana says, Kahat kathin, samujhat kathin, sadhan kathin vivek. It's very difficult to follow this path, even though you have gained eligibility for it. Because you see, the Jnani does not depend on the grace of God. Remember that he is following the path of Gyan, and the path of Gyan, this Jnani is meditating on God without name and form, Brahma, and Brahma does not bestow grace. So he is completely walking on this path on his own, without any grace from God. So he falls down again and again on this path. The Jnani is likened to a baby monkey. A baby monkey holds on to its mother, the mother monkey. The mother monkey does not hold on to its baby. The baby clings on to the mother. So the mother monkey is jumping from one branch of the tree to another, or from one tree to another. And it's very easy for the baby monkey to fall down and die, because the mother is not holding on to it. The devotee, on the other hand, is compared to a kitten. The mother cat holds a kitten in her mouth, so the kitten is always protected. The devotee is always seeking the grace of God. The Jnani says, I will do it on my own. So he's falling all the time. He's falling down. It takes lifetimes upon lifetimes to make progress on this path. Not years and years, but lifetimes upon lifetimes. And the novice on this path, he starts by meditating on Tattvamasi, 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 Tattvamasi. Meaning, Tattvam Asi, thou art that. You, the soul, you are Brahma. You are God. The individual soul is the supreme. And then the next step in the meditation is Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham, I, Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. We've all heard that. I am Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. Soham, Soham, I am that. The devotee just puts a da in front of the so, and he says not soham, but da soham. I am his servant. I am not he, I am his servant. The Jnani puts a sa in front of the da, and so he says sada soham. I am always that. I am always Brahman. But the devotee puts a da in front, so now he says da sada soham. I am a servant of his servants, and this goes on and on. The devotee says, I am his servant. The Jnani says, I am Brahman. I am God. Sri Maharaji has explained in one verse of Bhakti Shatak this sentence, Aham Brahmasmi. Atma vich Paramatma करत निवास सदाय, याते कहूं कहूं आत्मा परमात्मा कहलाय. Sri Maharaji says in Bhakti Shatak, the Supreme Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, lives within the individual soul. The Paramatma lives within the Atma. Yate, this is why, kahun kahun, sometimes, Atma Paramatma kahlai. The individual soul is called the Supreme Soul. Not that we are the Supreme Soul, but because the Supreme Soul lives within us. It is said sometimes that the Atma is Paramatma. So the Jnani says, Aham Brahmasmi. That is a stage of his meditational process. And ultimately, there are 7 levels. And ultimately, even the Aham is gone, the ego is gone, and Brahma, 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 there's only Brahma that remains. The highest, when the Jnani, practitioner of the path of Gyan, he reaches the highest level on his path, he becomes an Atma Jnani. He has a firm knowledge of the Atma, the soul. He knows without any doubt, and he knows it very well, that I am the Atma. This is the highest level that he can reach by following the path of Gyan. I am the Atma. I am the soul. I am not this body. I have a body, but I am the soul. When we say this, we say it intellectually. But when the Atma Jnani says it, he says it with conviction, he believes it. We say it, but we don't believe it. But he says it and he believes it with every pore of his being. I am the soul. I am the soul. King Janak was such a jnani. And if you put he would have his one hand in fire and he would not feel any different. He wouldn't feel any pain. He had gone beyond body consciousness. So the Atma Jnani understands himself to be the Atma. But he has not attained the knowledge of Brahman. He has not attained God yet. We hear of a very famous Atma Jnani. He knew himself to be the Atma. Jad Bharat was his name. He knew himself to be the Atma, the soul. One day, but he still fell. He became controlled by Maya once again because he had not attained God realization. One day, this Atma Jnani, Jad Bharat, he was bathing in the river when he saw a scene that disturbed him. A doe, an expectant doe, was just running on the bank of the river. And then she heard the roaring sound of a lion. And out of fear, she fell into the water and she gave birth, but then got out of the water and rushed away to save her own life. Jad Bharat witnessed the scene and his heart was filled with compassion. And he took this baby deer, and took him to his ashram and took care of it and thought of it as his own child. He became attached to a deer, whereas he was meditating on Brahman. And he became so enamored with the deer that he took care of the deer. If the deer went here and there, because as animals do, Jad Bharat would worry about it. What if a larger animal attacks my child? What if something goes wrong? What if my child is hungry? What if my child is thirsty? And he started fussing about this baby deer as a mother does for her child. Many years passed in this way, and Jad Bharat was about to die. And he was on his deathbed. He summoned his disciples and said, I am about to die, but take care of this deer. Jad Bharat was shedding tears for the deer, and the deer was also crying. When Jad Bharat died, in his next life, he was born in the body of a deer. And he remembered the attachment he had to that deer. At the following birth, he was born a human, and he remembered the attachment that he had towards a deer, and he became so careful about attachment. He was so afraid, and he became so careful that he pretended to be a madman so that no one would go near him. He would smear his own feces all over his body, and people would say, that's disgusting. They would never go near him. His own brothers and their wives, they put him in a cage, and they used to throw food at him. Here, eat this. And he was very happy that I became attached to an animal, not even a human, but in this life, I am not going to take a chance. I will not become attached to anyone. So Jad Bharat was an Atmagyani. He had reached the highest level in the path of Gyan, but he became attached to the world once again. So after attaining Atmagyan, knowledge of the self, now this is important. The Gyani, even the Gyani, the one who meditates on Brahma, who says, God does not have a name, God does not have a form, he has to resort to devotion, to the personal form of God, to attain Brahmagyan. To attain the knowledge of Brahma, he has to seek the grace of God with name and form. He has to do bhakti. So he practices devotion to Sri Krishna. And through practice of devotion, he attains Brahmagyan. He attains the knowledge of Brahma. At this point, it is up to him. He can choose. He can choose to love and devote himself to God with name and form, or he can he can choose to be one with Brahma. He can choose to be Brahmaleen. He can choose to merge within Brahma. The choice is his. So if he merges within Brahma, then it is as Sri Maharaji says, he has become Rasgulla. God is, let's say, Rasgulla, a sweet delicacy. And when you become one with Brahma, you become that sweet. So now the Gyan Yogi, he has practiced devotion to personal form of God, and he has merged within Brahma. He has become Rasgulla himself. The Rasgulla cannot taste its own sweetness. So now, with the help of the path of devotion, bhakti, the Gyani has become an Atma Gyani. So the path of Gyan does not just mean knowledge. Oh, I want to be on the path of knowledge because I value knowledge. It's not the path of knowledge in that sense. It means that you are seeking to become one with God without name and form. There are many instances in our Hindu history of great ones who were always meditating on God without name and form, but when God came in form, with form, then they forgot all about God without name and form. They were so charmed by God with name and form that they were no longer on the path of Gyan. They became devotees immediately. One such example is that of King Janak. When King Janak saw Ram and Lakshman, he couldn't, he stopped blinking his eyes. His gaze was transfixed upon both of them. And he thought, who are these two boys? Who are they? Why is it that I feel so attracted to them? I cannot be attracted to anyone in the world. So it means that my own Brahma has come in front of me, has appeared before me in this dual form of Ram and Lakshman. And he understood that because he was an Atma Gyani, or that he was a Gyan Yogi, that no one could attract him, no one of the world could attract him. So I'm so attracted by these two, Ram and Lakshman, then it must be that my Brahman, God without name and form, has appeared before me in these two forms. And King Janak, Sitaji's father, became a devotee on the spot. He never looked back. He never looked back at Brahma or meditating on Brahma. Shukdev Paramhans was also meditating on God without name and form. As soon as he was born, he was born a Paramhans. As soon as he was born, he left the house. He was in his mother's womb for 11 years, 11 or 12 years, because he was afraid that Maya would grab hold of him. So his father, Vedavyas, would ask, "Why are you not being born?" And the child from within the womb would say, "I am afraid of Maya." Finally, when his father, Vedavyas, gave him immunity from Maya, when he promised him immunity from Maya, Shukdev Paramhans agreed to taking birth. And as soon as he was born, he left. Where is he going? He doesn't know. No one knows, even he does not know. And he left, and his father, Vedavyas, running after him, "Putra, Putra, son, son, where are you going?" But the son doesn't see anything, hear anything. He doesn't smell anything or touch anything and think or know anything. He's absorbed in the self. So he's just going. And at one spot, he was in the woods. He was just there. He was just existing. He was just living. He has no idea where he is. And in the meantime, his father, Vedavyas, composed the greatest scripture of all, which is the Bhagavad Mahapuran, the greatest of the 18 Purans. Vedavyas had disciples, young boys, who were memorizing the shlokas, the verses from the Bhagavad. And one day, one of the boys, he was roaming around the woods, memorizing the shlokas, singing them, and Shukdev Paramhans opened his eyes. What happened was that the boy saw Shukdev and thought, "Is he alive? Is he dead?" So he thought, "Let me say something in his ear." So he recited a shlok, one of the verses that he had learned from his guru. And that shlok, in that verse, there's a glorification of Lord Krishna, how beautiful he is, how magnificent he is, how charming he is, how beautiful he is. And when Shukdev heard that, his eyes opened. He came out of his samadhi, and the boy ran away. And he told his father, he told his teacher, his guru, everything that had happened. And Vedavyas thought, this has to be my son, Shukdev. So now, in the meantime, Shukdev thought, Sri Krishna is so beautiful. He's so glorious. I shall love him. But then he thought, but I am so ordinary. Why would he love me? And he became very despondent, and he closed his eyes again, went back into his samadhi. Bhagwan Vedavyas told his disciple to recite another verse in the boy's ears. And this time the verse was talking about the compassionate nature of Sri Krishna. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jighansayapa yayadapya sadhvi lebhe gatim dha truchitam tatonyam kam vadayalum sharanam brajem. Bhagavatam. O Shri Krishna, you're so merciful that the wicked Putana came to kill you. She smeared poison on her breast and she tried to suckle you, and you killed her instead. But even though she had come with the intention of killing you, you were not cruel to her. You were so merciful to her that after killing her, you sent her to live in your divine abode forever. Go, and you have become my mother, because you have fed me your milk. You have become a mother to me. So how can I be cruel to my own mother? Thinking this, Lord Shri Krishna sent her to his divine kingdom. So, O Shri Krishna, you're so merciful. Renouncing you, where should I go? You are my one and only shelter. When Shukdev heard this verse, he was encouraged. He will accept me also, even though I am very ordinary, and he is so glorious. He is the Lord of countless universes, and he's so glorious, yet he will accept me. So he opened his eyes and he asked the boy, "Who taught you this?" And the boy, the disciple of Vedavyas, led Shukdev Paramhans to his own father, Bhagwan Vedavyas. And Shukdev Paramhans, who had reached the highest level of the path of knowledge, he went to Vedavyas and he started learning the ABC in the path of devotion. Because God without name and form and God with name and form, they're so different. It's the same God, Brahm and Bhagwan, same. But Brahm, there's no name, no form, no pastimes, nothing. We can't think of anything because Brahm does not, that's the formless aspect of God. But we have Bhagwan, Bhagwan Shri Krishna. There's a name, there's a form, there are pastimes. He comes down to earth and he performs his leelas, and his devotees are there with him. There is so much to absorb from him and so much to love, so many reasons to love him. Sri Maharaji compares Brahmanand, or the bliss of Brahm, and Premanand, the bliss of divine love that we get through Sri Krishna, God with name and form, to the happiness that a woman experiences, an expectant mother experiences, when she knows there is a child growing in her belly. So the happiness she experiences, only she knows how happy she is. But when the child is born, and now the happiness that she experiences, it is so much greater. If you ask her, which happiness is greater of the two, she would say, but happiness now, the happiness I'm experiencing now is, of course, greater than the happiness I was experiencing earlier. Now I can see my child. I can hear the gurgling sounds that my child is making. I can touch my child. I can kiss him. I can cuddle him. I can inhale his fragrance. I can experience him with all my five senses. So the child is the same, but in the prenatal stage, that happiness is now nothing in comparison to the happiness that the mother is experiencing now that she can see and hear and touch and smell her child. She can embrace her child. She can kiss her child. That the happiness is totally different. It's so much greater. And that is the difference between the bliss of merging within Brahmanand and Premanand, loving Sri Krishna and going to his divine kingdom, Golok, and experiencing the unlimited, everlasting, and ever-increasing divine happiness there. So this is a little bit about the path of Gyan, or the path of knowledge, which, as I said earlier, is a misnomer. Many people misunderstand what the path of knowledge is all about. And many people claim to be walking on the path of knowledge, but I will repeat that to become eligible for this path, you have to be completely detached from the world of desires. You have to be completely in control of your emotions. You must be beyond body consciousness to become eligible. Not only to be eligible for the path, but to be eligible to hear the lectures on this path. You have to be that advanced. So the path of Gyan by itself takes you to Atma Gyan. It makes you an Atma Gyani. It will make you know the self, but you have not known God yet. So you need to practice devotion. Then you will know God. Who is God? What is God? Everything about God. You will attain God then. So once again, we see, as we had seen with the path of karma and dharma, that this path needs a path of devotion to take us to God. Jnani does not attain God, but Jnani Yogi does attain God. That is a little bit about the path of Gyan. Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki jai. And I know you will have questions. Now we have about 20 minutes that we can have a Q&A session. And the rule is the same as always. If you don't ask questions, I shall ask you questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question and you can unmute yourself. I heard someone say something, but I didn't understand.
I think it's a background noise, maybe, Didi.
And if it's a background noise, would you kindly turn your audio off? Could you mute yourself? Thank you.
Radhe Radhe Didi, Purna
Radhe
here.
Radhe. Radhe.
So I was just listening to the statement when you were referring to one is not eligible to be in the gnani as a gnani. One is not eligible enough for that path. So how do we get to know how to achieve that eligibility?
The whole point is that you don't need to be on this path. You can, when you hear the next lecture about the path of devotion, you will learn that you don't need to gain any eligibility for this path of devotion, because the path of devotion is for everyone. Because remember what I said was, what the scriptures tell us is that to be on this path, you have to, when you're walking on to be eligible is so difficult. It's impossible in this age of Kali, in Kali Yuga. So, and anyway, if I were to answer your question directly, to be eligible for this path, you have to bring yourself to a state of detachment where you are completely detached from everyone in your family, from the entire world, from your body. That's impossible to do. So it's best that you go to path of devotion. That's my conclusion that I was going to talk about in the next lecture.
Okay.
So you can go to the path of devotion that you have to go to anyhow. Even if you follow these paths, you have to go there anyhow. So why not go to the path of devotion?
Okay.
Radhe Radhe Didi, I have a question. This is Sandeep. I'll turn my video on. Sorry. Sorry. I had one confusion always, like why liberation is important for us, moksha, which you call moksha. Because many saints I have read, like one of them is uh, this Sant Tukaram and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They said like they want to come back again and again in this world, and devotion is more important for them. They don't want liberation. So for we like common people, why uh, liberation is important?
Yes,
And
very good. And
yeah, I mean that is what I mean. Like we are very common people. I mean we are not saints, and we are not even in whatever devotion we does with all our materialistic life. We understand it's very very difficult to get liberation because all these maya and all these lust comes in between, and so why it's not prevalent, like we come back in this world and be in devotion phase rather than trying for liberation, moksha.
But liberation means two things. One is the liberation of the jnani that I talked about, which means that the jnani, you merge within Brahma. And when saints like Tukaram and Gauranga Mahaprabhu, they say, I don't want moksha, I want to come to this world. They don't say, I want to come to this world. They just don't want moksha. They want divine love instead of moksha. What they are rejecting is merging within Brahman. What they are saying is, I don't want to merge within Brahman. I want divine love. In other words, I want to be in God's abode, God with name and form, and I want to be the divine. I want to attain His divine love so that I'm always with Him. So they're not, they want liberation from the world, that I don't want to come to this world again and again. I think you may have misunderstood. They don't say, I want to come back to this world. What they say is, I don't want moksha. I don't want to merge within Brahm. I want to, and maybe they're saying that to mean that I want to come to this world again and again to worship God with name and form. What they're saying is, I don't want to merge within Brahm. I want to worship God with name and form. I want to love Him selflessly, and I want divine love. Gauranga Mahaprabhu definitely has said this. He says that Divya Prem, Panchama Purusharth Shay Prem Mahadhan. He rejects the four traditional aims of life: dharma, artha, kam, and even moksha, liberation. He says, I don't want that. I want Divya Prem, divine love of Sri Krishna. That's what they're saying. In other words, they're rejecting Gyan, impersonalism, and saying, I want to worship God with name and form. That's what the essence of what they're saying is. I'm not able to hear you anymore, Sandeep.
Is that we also rather trying for liberation, not, don't be in that mood like we want liberation. We just do devotion without anything about thinking about that, because that's anyway quite difficult if so many saints don't achieve that even.
But our aim is to just practice devotion selflessly, and at the end of that there is liberation from this world. But that liberation is of the devotee, where you will receive a divine body, divine mind, and you will be with Sri Krishna in His kingdom. So what you have to understand from this is that our aim is to practice devotion selflessly. That's all. And liberation will be there automatically. Liberation from the world. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, thank you.
As the Ramayana says, Bhagati karat soi mukuti gosai. One who practices devotion will automatically become liberated from the world. He will not have to come to this world again. He will be with God in the divine kingdom of God.
Thank you, Tiji Radha.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Maharaji tells us a story of from his life many, many years ago. Maharaj used to tell us that there was a female ascetic who had come to see him, and she had many women, some followers with her. And so Shri Maharaji asked her, what is the philosophy that you are teaching? And she said, Tattumasi. And Maharaji said, excuse me? She said, Tattumasi. Maharaji said, Tattumasi. Maharaji has a sense of humor. Maharaji is telling us the story, and Maharaji said, I've heard of Isa Masi. That's how we call Christ in India, Isa Masi. I never heard of Tattumasi. What she was saying is Tattvamasi, but she was not pronouncing the words correctly, and she's saying Tattvamasi. Remember, I was saying in the talk, Tattvamasi. That's how the Jnani starts. The first level in his meditation is Tattvamasi. He begins by meditating on Thou art that, and so imagine someone who is teaching others to walk on the path of Gyan, but she does not even know the one of the Mahavakyas, one of the utterances of the Vedas and important ones, Tattvamasi. So instead of Tattvamasi, she's saying Tattvamasi. Now, if you cannot even pronounce the words, can you imagine how difficult it will be, how impossible it would be to follow this path, because you're always falling down. And Shri Maharaji also compared the two paths, the path of knowledge to the path of devotion, by saying that the Jnani, the path of one practitioner on the path of knowledge, he is like climbing a mountain, and there is a great possibility that he will fall to his death. It's such a difficult path. The devotee is going on plain ground, and there is no chance of him falling. It's a very clear path. So there is a huge difference between the two. And as I said, this path is completely misunderstood by majority of the people, who take pride on saying that I walk on the path of Gyan, not on the path of Bhakti. Many people look down on devotees and they say, you're just crying for God, whereas I am an intellectual. It's not that. We'll find that the greatest intellectuals have embraced devotion. And there's not a single example in our Hindu history of someone who was on the path of devotion and then he rejected it for the path of knowledge. But there are so many instances of those who were on the path of knowledge, and then they tasted the nectar of God with name and form. Then they chose this path, and they never looked back at the path of Gyan. Because when we get something better, we don't look at something lesser that we had. For instance, if you have, let's say, shoes that are all torn up, and then you get a new pair, you're not going to miss your old pair that's all torn up, ripped up. Then you have a new pair, you are never going to look back at the old pair. In the same way, when you have an experience, when these Gyanis, they saw God with name and form, their gaze was transfixed. And or when they even heard about him, like Shukdev Paramhans, they just rejected Brahmanand and they opted for Premanand. Adi Shankaracharya, everyone is familiar with that name, the first Jagat Guru. He is known to be a Jnani, impersonalist, but it was a need of the time when he came to earth. There was a need for him to talk about God without name and form. But he was a devotee through and through. He has composed beautiful verses in praise of God with name and form. And for our purposes, he has composed the beautiful long verse, Yamuna Nikat. What a great, an elaborate and very exquisite description of Lord Krishna, his beauty and how he's sitting and what is going on, what is around him, how he's making the 10 directions fragrant with his divine fragrance, how he's surrounded by cows and cowherd boys. That is a devotee talking. So Adi Shankaracharya, first Jagat Guru, he is known to be a Jnani, but he was a devotee through and through. And as I said, he talked about path of Gyan because it was the time that he lived in, it was a necessity at that time for him to talk about that path. But for himself, he was a devotee, and he told his mother, who was on her deathbed, mother, practice devotion to Lord Krishna. And the verses he has composed are truly exquisite Sanskrit verses. Achyutam Keshavam Satyadbha Madhavam Madhavam Sridharam Radhika Radhitam Indira Mandiram Chetasa Sundaram Devaki Nandanam Nanda. It's like that. So many verses he has composed in praise of the divine, of Sri Krishna, the Divine Mother. So devotion, in fact, is the one path, and we'll come to understand that. And I'm giving away what I'm going to say next time, because we have very few questions today. which is okay. It's fine. Any more questions? And if there are no more questions, then we will conclude with some Sankirtan.
Namo Namah. Mahoday, may I ask one question little bit?
Yes, of
Sorry
course.
for my ignorance. My name is Bhavani Lekhak. Is the path of jnana not supplementary to for the path of devotion?
Actually, not the path of Gyan, but Gyan itself, knowledge itself, it supplements the path of devotion.
Yeah, again, that is what I meant. Yeah.
Yes, not the path. In other words, because you don't have to walk on the path of knowledge, but you need knowledge, knowledge of who Sri Krishna is. In fact, we cannot be devoted to Sri Krishna unless we have the knowledge. Oh, okay, he's my very own. He is so glorious, and yet he's so humble, and he is willing to be my everything. So knowing so much about him, and so much knowledge is necessary for us, and then ultimately we become devotees. Because if we have no knowledge about Sri Krishna, let's say, if we have no knowledge about ourselves, if we have no concept of who we are, I'm the Atma, I have this body, the world is for the sake of the body, but I need something different. What do I need? Oh, I need this, I need God. Okay, so who is God? Where's God? And then the Guru explains so much. Then we come to understand, oh, all right, I will love Sri Krishna. So much knowledge is there. That is why our Gurudev, Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, does not straight away say, love God. He gives so much knowledge before that. There is so much prior knowledge that we need to have. And, it starts with importance of understanding the human body, meaning the importance of human body. And then understand what is your aim in life. So he takes us in a sequence. The knowledge is given to us in a sequence, so that it builds up, that love builds up more and more and more, and then we finally fall in love with Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So you are right. There are many people who don't have the knowledge that is necessary to sustain their devotion. So what happens is, when someone says something that puts an inkling of doubt about God in their minds, they're gone. They just fall. And they say, oh, indeed, Sri Krishna is not God. They hear that Sri Krishna was a magician, he was a yogi, this and that, and they don't have the knowledge that will sustain their devotion, so they fall from the path. So anyone can come and put a doubt in their minds. Or if something goes wrong in life, then they place the blame on God due to lack of knowledge. So devotion, if it is to be very strong, it needs a lot of knowledge. And that is what the Guru does. He puts knowledge of God. He gives out knowledge. And then devotion. And then devotion. Now you have knowledge, now you practice devotion with that. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
I noticed that many of you are playing Brahm. We can't see your face. So could you become like Bhagwan? Every time.
Radhe,
Radhe.
thank you. I just wanted to say congratulations, Badhayo, on behalf of all the UK Satsangis for the inauguration of the Bhavya temple. So beautiful that we watched some of the ceremonies on YouTube, and it was absolutely just awesome, phenomenal. So all you worked so hard for it, and all Maharaji's grace. Thank you.
Yes, with Maharaji's grace.
Yes.
Thank you, and aap logon ko bhi bahut badhai. Badhai to all of you. Congratulations to all of you. And I invite all of you to come here, and it would make me very, very happy if you were to come here anytime you want.
Thank you, Didiji. Thank you.
Most welcome. And we'll conclude now with a short kirtan. Let's close our eyes. Radhe Radhe Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Gao Chin Chin, Naam Radhe, Gao Chin Chin, Naam Radhe, Dhyao Chin Chin, Roop Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Dhyao Chin Chin, Roop Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Shri Radhe Radhe, Radhe. अलबेली सरकार की जय, लाडली लाल की जय,
जय
श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की
Jai.
जय जय श्री
राधे
जय जय
Jai
श्री
राधे
Jai
जय जय श्री राधे
राधे राधे
राधे राधे दीदी
see you in 2 weeks
Radhe
राधे
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Devi.
राधे राधे दीदी राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe Didi.
राधे
Have you got
राधे
your date there when you're coming to India?
oh I think it was just fixed today on the 1st of July.
On the 1st. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll see you there.
It's
This is
21
Madhuri.
hours.
Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Didi.